Alright guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to fish throughout the moon phases. Let's get into it. Okay, so fishing with knowing the moon phases. So what do I mean by that? So there's a common one. So basically you have the new moon, the half moon, and the full moon. Those are the three big ones. But there's a lot of different ones in between. So a lot of people don't understand the moon phases and how they affect bass fishing. Because on a full moon, the bass will most likely feed at night. So your morning bite is really good and your evening bite is sort of good. Because your morning bite, the moon's still out, so they're still feeding, but the sun's getting out, so it's going to be more hot. They're going to waste more energy being hot and everything. The hotter the water rises. But because if it's cool, 75, 70 degree water temperatures at night and they can see, why would they hunt when it's 85, 90 degree water temperatures and it's hot and they can see? But they can just be cooler and hunt and use less energy. So it would obviously feed at night. But on a new moon, when there's no light at night, they'll feed during the day because they can't see anything at night. Because the new moon has no light or anything that it produces. Now, you may be saying, well, that's probably, yeah, I can understand that, but how does the waning moons and the waxing moons, how do they affect it? How do the half moons, the quarter moons? Well, let me tell you this. If your moon is getting larger, say it's the waxing side. So your moon is getting bigger, okay? Your nighttime bite is going to increasingly get better and better. But if it's waning, your daytime bite is going to get better and better. Now, especially on a new moon, your morning bite and your evening bite are probably your best two bite windows throughout the day. But on a full moon, if you don't fish at night, you want to fish early in the morning. I'm talking, if the sunrise is at 6:30, you want to be on the water at 4:30 to take advantage of all those fish that are still feeding, and you get to take advantage of the sunrise and the cooler parts in the morning. Because people always fish at night. When people night fish, they almost want to fish during the full moon, because that's the most productive time to fish at night. Because the waning gibbous moon, okay, is probably one of your best bets on the waning side to get good bites at night. Now, if you're trying to go on the waxing moon side, you're gonna increasingly say a Monday, it's a quarter waxing moon, and then on Thursday, it's a waxing gibbous moon. So your bite is gonna increasingly get better and better at night. But as your full moon ends, it's going to increasingly getting less. So, for all that being said, the waxing moon's better fishing at night, okay? If you're on the waxing side. So if your moon is getting bigger, then you're better fishing at night. But if it's getting smaller, but it still produces I would say anything after the last quarter half moon, you probably shouldn't fish at night because it's not going to be good. You can still fish at a full new moon. I have, and I've caught fish. But you have to use really loud baits, and you have to, it's dangerous for you because you can't see, and you won't catch as many fish because they can't see. So you have to use really loud baits, really obnoxious colors, just for the bass to see it. But that being said, there's still, usually on the new moon at nighttime, usually when the bigger fish eat. I'm just saying. On the wintertime, the last time I fished the new moon was in the wintertime. Went to a light. And lights are amazing in the new moon, because that's the only light source they have to see. Because when it's a new moon, they can see everything. It's a vast open. They can hunt the whole lake. But when it's a new moon, they can only see where that fish light is. So you want to go to those lights. Those overhead lights and those underwater lights are really good. And I caught a 5-pounder on the first cast, third cast on the light, 6-pounder, Guess what? 7th cast. Oh yeah, another 6-pounder. And then move to the other light. There's 2 lights. I was catching all those bass on the white light, and I moved to the green light. Boom. 7 crappie, 9 casts. And that's another thing. All the fish move to the lights on the new moon because that's all that they can see. The bait fish are always attracted to the lights because the plankton is more strong with the lights because they can grow and the plankton can feed on those lights. On what the lights produce, little bacteria and stuff the plankton can feed on. And then that means the shad's going to go to the light, which means the bass is going to go to the light, which means the crappie, which means the catfish is all going to go to the light. But on a new moon, everything's just spread out. So 1, it's really good if you don't have very many lights on your lake, and 2, if you want to go down on the bank with like a spinnerbait or a chatterbait, really great nighttime lures, you can catch them. Okay. And then another thing you want to do on the new moon is make sure that you stay safe. Make sure you have a lot of lights. Make sure you have boat lights. Make sure you have headlamps. Make sure you have flashlights, and make sure you have extra batteries for all of those lights, because it really sucks when you didn't change your battery in your headlamp and well you're stuck in a dark lake with no light except your boat lights. And also you want to make sure that you know your lake pretty well, or you have a map, because you don't want to run into an underwater stump and die. So yeah, pretty dark, but it's true. It happens. It really does happen. And then another thing you can do in a new moon is throw like obnoxious rattling baits, like your big obnoxious crankbaits, something that produces a lot of sound or is bright, like a chartreuse spinnerbait or something like chartreusey colored or bright bait. Okay, and then on your new moons, you can pretty much fish exactly like it was daytime. You can fish your natural colors. You can fish your dark colors. Doesn't really matter. Because do the crawfish change color at night? No. Do the bluegill change color at night? No. Only thing that changes is the level of seeing this. So the crawfish don't change colors. They're still brown. And they're still brown at night. And they're more active at night too. So, And then also on new moons, the crawfish spawn. Because, especially during the summer months too, the crawfish will spawn. So if you have a lot of crawfish in your lake, the bass will be eating a lot of crawfish. So a jig, a big worm. But the thing between them, okay, a big worm and a jig will never work on the same night. It's either going to be a jig bite or it's either going to be a big worm bite. There ain't no flippy floppy, okay? Your 12-inch Magnum worm ain't going to work when your 3/4 ounce football jig's working, okay? So it ain't no. What I find is that the worm works more during the waning and the waxing moons, but the jig works more during the full moons and the new moons, because that's when the crawfish spawn. So the jig looks more like a crawfish, and the worm looks like a worm, something on the bottom. But what I think is the jig looks more like a crawfish, so that's why I'm throwing it more on the waning and the full and new moons. But I'm throwing the worm on the waning and waxing moons. Okay. And then another thing, the bluegill spawn during the new moons and full moons during the summer. So the bluegill and the crawfish will spawn. So that's 2 out of the 3 food sources checked off the list. Boom, the bass are having a heyday, all right? They're eating crawfish, they're eating bluegill, okay, shad, herring, gizzard shad, threadfin shad, whatever you have in your lake. They are easier to pick off, okay? Because think about this. There's a big school shad. Say, easy math, 50 shad, okay? There's 50 shad in that school, okay? And the water's visibility, say 3 foot. 3 foot visibility. Pretty clear, okay? Bass just kind of sees them in a glimpse. But guess who else sees them? 10 shad see him. They tell their buddies, oh snap, we gotta book it. There's a bass down there, okay? Nighttime. Bass can use their lateral lines. They can see they can find those shad. And the shad are like, where's the bass? Okay? Then that's what the shad are like. Because the bass, they can use the darkness to their advantage, and they can like, okay? That's because at night, if you ever hear those, that's a big old school of shad getting absolutely demolished because those bats are using the advantage of the darkness to their advantage. They're like Batman, okay? And then, my final tip for y'all fishing during the moon phases is that depending on the water clarity, if the water clarity is clear, you can fish the waning and waxing moons just as you can fish the new moons. Because, think about it, if the water is clear, the more light penetrates. So if the moon shines more light, the more light can like go down to the bottom. So like the more levels of water the light can like go through, okay? But if it's dirtier water, the brighter moons are gonna help you more. But like if it's like a clear smallmouth reservoir, you can fish like the waxed crescent moon and the waning crescent moon and still catch a pile of fish. Even the new moon, okay? Because the water's so clear, even the slightest bit of light can penetrate down like 20 feet, okay? If it's dirtier, you want to focus on those waning gibbous moons, those waxing gibbous moons, and of course the full moon, because the light can't penetrate into the water as far as it can if it was a clear. So you want to take that into your mind. So you want to check your water clarity before the sun goes down. So whenever you want to get on the water, it's probably around like 6:30, 7 o'clock. There's still light outside, and you want to take advantage of the evening light, and then you take advantage all through the night, okay? That is all the tips that I have for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed it and learning about the moon phases. And now you can say, you don't catch any fish, you can't blame it on the moon phases because you now understand them. Well, peace out. Catch a big one. Peace.